Berkshire Hathaway could not escape the smoke. Turns out Berkshire Hathaway has a ton of money and some attorneys that are representing certain plaintiffs in a certain commission suit found out. Of course, I'm being facetious, but we need to talk about the Berkshire Hathaway, Berkshire Hathaway, the parent company of Home Services of America, being added to a commission lawsuit that came down shortly after the major decision of Sitzer Burnett in 2023, the summer of the commission lawsuit, basically. So that was a terrible summer, if I could say that. I can't say that, so I just did. This article is courtesy of Inman.com. Go check them out. Berkshire Hathaway Energy added to growing Gibson commission suit. So they were originally not named because, well, let's just get into it. This way you kind of see where everybody is coming from, because I know there's so many different lawsuits out there right now. It is very confusing. It's super confusing for me, and I cover this daily. So I need to draw like a little map here to get everybody up to speed. But let's get going. Plaintiffs in the first antitrust commission suit filed after a jury verdict in the Sitzer Burnett case have expanded the scope of their complaint to include the parent company of Home Services of America, Berkshire Hathaway Energy. So here's what this is essentially saying. Right after the Sitzer Burnett case was what came down last year in 2023, the copycat commission suit started. So this was one of many. There's over 20 plus commissions out there right now that are implicating NAR and several other brokerages when it comes to the commission lawsuit. So this was immediately after the Sitzer Burnett one was done, within minutes. Here comes another right hook via the Gibson suit over here. It's what is being called the Gibson suit, and this is what they're alluding to. So as a reminder, Home Services was already included in the major Sitzer Burnett lawsuit, and it's still in that suit, and it's still appealing and doing all that fun stuff. So now what they're going and doing is swimming upstream and are including the parent company. Attorneys for the home sellers, Don Gibson, Lauren Chris, and John Miners, filed an amended complaint on March 4th naming Berkshire Hathaway Energy, a holding company that owns Home Services and its subsidiary of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, as a defendant in the case. The plaintiff, if they could have gotten all the way to the actual parent company of Berkshire Hathaway, of course they would have done that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do in the near future, but that's as far as the corporate ladder as they can get. The plaintiff's original complaint did not name Home Services as a defendant. So again, reminder, Home Services was already included in the Sitzer Burnett. It was one of the original 5 entities that was included in that suit. So, here we go. October 31st, Sitzer Burnett jurors found that NAR, Keller Williams, Remax, Anywhere Home Services, and 2 of its subsidiaries, Better Homes and BHH affiliates and HSF affiliates, conspired to enforce the NAR rule, known variously as the cooperative compensation rule or the participation rule, and thereby inflate broker commission rates paid by home sellers. The jury awarded $1.78 billion in the damages to a class of approximately 500,000 Missouri homeowners, which, if that award stands, it would be trebled by law to more than $5.3 billion, essentially bankrupting everybody. Which, again, I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case, but it's still a possibility. We can't say that it's not. As a quick reminder, this whole when this gets when you're going to get a bit more definition on what's going to happen is in April. That the appeal and everything is still going on, and how much in damages are going to be awarded, that is also coming up here in a couple of weeks. The Gibson case was filed within minutes of that verdict. So again, the Sitzer Burnett case in October was taken care of, was in rather short order, within a couple of days. It was already wrapped up, and NAR, Keller Williams, Remax, Anywhere Home Services were on the losing end. But at that point, it was only NAR, Keller Williams, and Home Services that were still in that suit. Remax and Anywhere had already settled out before it actually got adjudicated. So within minutes after this particular attorney and their office, one, they came right back in, they copied and pasted and added another lawsuit, but this time they went after everybody. They added as many folks as possible, except in this case, they didn't add Berkshire Hathaway Energy until now to the mix. So they came back with Compass, EXP, Redfin, Weichert, United Real Estate, Douglas Elliman, and a ton more. So it goes on to explain why they're doing it, but essentially it's for additional money. Now, they go on to make some additional connections, or they try to make some connections between, there are some connections, but Berkshire Hathaway Energy has played an active role in controlling the day-to-day operation oversight of home services and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, the complaint says. So basically, piercing the corporate veil in this particular entity is not going to be that challenging. There are some shared resources, there are some shared leadership, there are shared a lot of different things. So it's not going to be all that challenging to break through that corporate veil that attorneys are very notorious for doing. By snapping up home services profits, Berkshire Hathaway Energy, again, it's not the actual parent company, Berkshire Hathaway, the entity that you know, it's a subsidiary of that. Again, if they could get all the way up to Berkshire Hathaway, trust that they would. Berkshire Hathaway Energy has intentionally undercapitalized home services. The complaint adds, rather than ensure that home services can return its ill-gotten home equity and or pay the Burnett judgment, it accepts the profits of the conspiracy rather than leave the profits at the home services level. So they're essentially trying to leave that as a shell in these people's words. So that's what they're alleging, which how true or not true that is, I don't necessarily know. I would suspect that since it's a parent company, it's going to take the profits out of that subsidiary anyway, regardless, but they need to make a judgment here and present its most negative aspect, or presents and allege something that is wrong in order to have a suit. So that's what they're doing. Now, this is when they go on to make the connection between Berkshire Hathaway, Home Services, and NAR. The complaint alleges BHE requires its franchisees and agents to comply with NAR rules and regulations. It's pretty obvious, including the aforementioned cooperative compensation rule, despite knowing that other lawsuits filed challenging the rule and did not direct Home Services and its brokerage subsidiaries to stop following the rule in order to continue to benefit from those activities through its receipt of cartel profits. It's just an asinine comment. If you believe that you're not doing anything wrong, why would you direct them to do something different? Right? So it's just, they're already, in this complaint, they're already saying that this was wrong back in the day, even before this, of course, before this even adjudicated, it was illegal, it was wrong, is whatever. So at that point, whenever we made whenever we alleged this years and years ago, you should have taken it as gospel and stopped doing this whole cartel profits or whatever they're talking about. So it's a pretty it doesn't sit well with me, that comment there, right there. Like Sitzer Burnett, the Gibson suit was filed in the U.S. District Court for Western District of Missouri. So basically the same juror, they're not the same jury, but the same judge, the same venue, basically, Western District of Missouri. But in terms of scope, Gibson promises to be much bigger than either Sitzer Burnett or another bigger suit, similar suit known as Morrell. So you have several different suits out there. So as far as the major suits right now, these are the top three. There's a fourth one. I'm trying to remember what the fourth one is, but there's 4 major suits right now. Sitzer Burnett, of course, Gibson, the one that we're talking about, Morrell, and there's one more that escapes me, but yes, there's over 20 plus suits at the moment that NAR has been named in, but there's we're going to call those the core 4, but the fourth one escapes me. Again, I cover this every day, and it just gets exhausting to a certain extent. By contrast, the Gibson suit seeks class action status on behalf of all persons, not just the home sellers, all persons who listed not just the home sellers in Missouri. Let me rephrase that. All persons who listed properties on a multiple listing service in the United States, not just Missouri, not just the 500,000 people in Missouri, according to the Sitzer Burnett suit. Here, they're coming for it all. in the United States using a listing agent or broker affiliate with the corporate defendants and who paid a buyer broker commission from October 31st, 2019 until the present. Now, they also did go on to mention that Howard Hanna was actually named in the original case, but it was dropped because they are naming Howard Hanna, the brokerage, in another lawsuit. So this Oompa lawsuits, which I thought was funny. Either way, Berkshire Hathaway Energy, let's make that clear, Energy has been named in this Gibson commission suit because naturally they would, even though the actual brokerage, the subsidiary, has already been named and has already, to be clear, they've already lost in the Sitzer Burnett one. Now the parent company is being named over here on the Gibson one. So trying to swim upstream according to the plaintiff's attorneys to collect a little bit more bag. I added that last part. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you think this is something that was obvious it was going to happen from the get-go? Is this something that's surprising to you? What do you think the strategy should be for this particular situation when it comes to the parent company? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you tomorrow.